Recap on countries we hike, from the Alpines of Switzerland to the flattest nations of the world. We've unveiled the legendary Great Walls, the scorching heat of Egypt, and her momentum 5 amazing places, Britain's historical infrastructures, and the flattest nations. Let's make a recap of these countries. Egypt. 5. The Suez Canal. Number 5 on our list is the Suez Canal. Now here is what you need to understand first. Before the Suez Canal existed, if a ship wanted to travel from Europe to Asia, from say London to Mumbai, it had to sail all the way around the entire continent of Africa. We are talking about adding roughly 7,000 extra kilometers to the journey. The canal cuts right through the Isthmus of Suez. That is the narrow strip of land in northeastern Egypt connecting Africa to Asia. Its Suez Canal construction began in 1859, and the canal finally opened to the world on November 17, 1869. Today, approximately 19,000 ships pass through the Suez Canal every year. That breaks down to about 50 ships per day, carrying everything from crude oil and natural gas to cars, clothing, electronics, and food. In March 2021, when a massive container ship called the Ever Given got stuck sideways in the canal, that ship blocked the waterway for just 6 days, and it caused an estimated $9.6 billion worth of trade disruptions per day. The whole world held its breath waiting for that ship to move. That is the power of the Suez Canal. One stuck boat, and the entire planet felt it. Egypt earns billions of dollars annually in toll revenues from the canal. In 2023 alone, it generated over $9 billion US dollars. This is one of Egypt's most important sources of income, and it is not hard to see why. In 2015, Egypt even expanded the canal with a new parallel channel, dubbed the New Suez Canal, to allow two-way ship traffic and reduce transit times even further. For the River Nile coming in at number 4, and honestly, this one deserves to be on every list of the most mind-blowing things on planet Earth, is the River Nile, the father of all rivers, the original lifeline, the reason ancient Egypt even existed. Here is a fact that should stop you cold. Egypt is 96% desert. The vast majority of the country is nothing but sand, rock, and scorching heat. Without the Nile, Egypt would simply be an empty, uninhabitable wasteland. There would be no pyramids, no pharaohs, no civilization at all. Nothing. Just sand. But then there is the Nile, and everything changes. Ancient Greek historian Herodotus once said, "Egypt is the gift of the Nile." Those 5 words remain as true today as they were 2,500 years ago. Without this river, one of humanity's greatest civilizations simply would not exist. The Nile flows for an epic 6,650 kilometers, making it one of the longest rivers ever to exist on Earth. It is in a fierce competition with the Amazon River in South America for the title of world's longest river, and the debate is still going on. But regardless of who wins that title, one thing is for sure: the Nile's influence on human history is absolutely unmatched. The river begins its journey deep in the heart of Africa, with 2 major sources. The White Nile originates from Lake Victoria in Uganda and Tanzania, while the Blue Nile starts from Lake Tana in Ethiopia. These 2 rivers merge in Khartoum, Sudan, and then flow northward through Egypt before finally emptying into the Mediterranean Sea. It passes through an incredible 11 countries across northeastern Africa. In Egypt, the Nile is everything. Today, roughly 95% of Egypt's 105 million people live within a few kilometers of the Nile. Think about that. The entire country, one of Africa's most populous nations, is essentially squeezed into a thin green ribbon running alongside this river, while the rest of the country sits empty and barren. For thousands of years before modern dams, the Nile would flood every single year, depositing incredibly fertile black soil along its banks. Ancient Egyptians called this soil Kemet, meaning the black land. It was this rich soil that allowed them to grow wheat, barley, flax, and vegetables in the middle of a desert, feeding millions of people and powering one of history's greatest empires. This amazing part of the Nile is, the Nile flows northward, from south to north. which is unusual for major rivers. Ancient Egyptians considered going upstream to mean going south, which confused early foreign travelers who expected rivers to flow downward on maps. The Nile is also a major tourism artery. Millions of travelers take Nile River cruises every year, floating past ancient temples, lush farmland, and timeless villages that look exactly as they did centuries ago. There is something deeply humbling about floating down the same river that Cleopatra sailed, that Moses was placed in as a baby, and that fed the builders of the pyramids. The River Nile is not just a body of water, it is the pulse of an entire civilization, past and present, and that is why it earns its place at number 4. Before we continue, I'll encourage you to subscribe to this channel, like and share. Number 3 on our countdown is something a little different. We are not talking about something ancient. We are talking about a modern engineering marvel that soars above one of the most chaotic, densely packed, loudest cities on the face of the earth, Cairo, Egypt. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 6th of October Bridge. Cairo is no ordinary city. With roughly 20 to 22 million people packed into its sprawling urban landscape, it is one of the largest and most densely populated cities in the entire world. The 6th of October Bridge stretches an incredible 20.5 kilometers across Cairo, flying high above the city streets, the River Nile, and entire neighborhoods. It connects the suburb of 6th of October City in the west all the way to Heliopolis and Nasser City in the east, essentially stitching together opposite sides of this enormous metropolis. What makes this bridge truly spectacular, beyond its sheer length, is what it does as it crosses the Nile. At the point where the bridge spans the river, you get one of the most breathtaking views in all of Africa. On one side, you can see the ancient island of Gezira with its iconic Cairo Tower rising above the trees. On the other side, the skyline of modern Cairo stretches for miles. The contrast of ancient and ultra-modern, all visible from one bridge, is genuinely stunning. At peak hours, the bridge carries hundreds of thousands of vehicles per day, making it one of the busiest elevated roads in the African continent. Without it, Cairo's already legendary traffic situation would descend into pure, unimaginable gridlock. The city's modern economy, its hospitals, universities, businesses, and airports, depends on this bridge being operational every single day. 6th of October, bridge is a powerful symbol of Egypt's modern ambition. Proof that a country with one foot planted firmly in ancient history is simultaneously charging forward into the future. It is not just infrastructure, it is a statement, and it earns every right to be at number 3 on this list. Please welcome, at number 2, the Great Sphinx of Giza. Let us start with the basics, because the basics alone are already insane. The Great Sphinx is a massive stone statue carved directly out of a single piece of natural limestone bedrock, carved right from the ground of the Giza Plateau on the western bank of the Nile, near modern-day Cairo. It takes the form of a reclining lion's body with a human head, the face believed to depict the pharaoh Khafre, who ruled ancient Egypt around 2500 BC. The Sphinx stretches 73.5 meters long, longer than 2 Olympic swimming pools placed end to end. It stands 20.2 meters tall, roughly the height of a 6-story building, and it was carved from a single continuous piece of limestone rock. No assembly required, just ancient Egyptians, copper chisels, and apparently an absolutely insane amount of patience. Funny part is, you have probably noticed the Sphinx has no nose. Popular legends blame Napoleon's cannons for shooting it off, but historical sketches drawn before Napoleon arrived in Egypt already show the Sphinx without its nose. Most scholars believe a religious zealot named Muhammad Sa'im al-Dar deliberately removed it in the 14th century AD. So Napoleon? Innocent? Probably. But geologists have looked at the erosion patterns on the Sphinx's body and argued that the erosion is consistent with water erosion from heavy rainfall, not wind and sand. The problem? Egypt has been a desert for at least 5,000 years. The last time that region received heavy rainfall on a regular basis was around 7,000 to 12,000 years ago. This has led some researchers to suggest the Sphinx could be far, far older than mainstream history tells us, potentially one of the oldest structures ever built by humans. In the spring and autumn equinoxes, the sun rises exactly in line with the Sphinx's gaze. Was this intentional? Almost certainly. Ancient Egyptians were master astronomers, and they built everything with cosmic precision. The Great Sphinx of Giza has outlasted empires, survived earthquakes, endured desert sandstorms, and kept its secrets through all of it. It is the world's largest monolithic sculpture, cut from a single rock, and to this day it remains one of humanity's greatest mysteries. It sits there on the Giza plateau, staring eastward into eternity, as if to say, I was here before you, I will be here after you, and I am not telling you anything. Number 1, the undisputed king, the single most mind-shattering, world-shocking, science-defying, history-breaking structure ever built by human beings in the entire history of planet Earth. The Great Pyramid of Giza. Great Pyramid sits on the Giza Plateau, on the western edge of Cairo, the capital of Egypt. It was built as the tomb of Pharaoh Khufu, also known as Cheops, and was completed around 2560 BC. That makes it approximately 4,500 years old, older than the Roman Empire, older than the Greek Empire, older than most of what we consider ancient history. When ancient Greek tourists like Herodotus visited Egypt to look at the pyramids with amazement, the pyramids were already 2,000 years old. The pyramids were as ancient to the ancient Greeks as the ancient Greeks are to us today. Let Pyramid was originally 146.5 meters tall, about 481 feet, which made it the tallest man-made structure on the face of the Earth, and it held that title for an unbelievable 3,800 years. From around 2560 BC all the way until Lincoln Cathedral was completed in England in 1311 AD. 3,800 years as the world's tallest building. Nothing else, nothing, comes remotely close to that record. Today, after thousands of years of erosion and the removal of its outer limestone casing stones, it stands at approximately 138.5 meters. Still an absolutely colossal structure that dominates the desert skyline. The pyramid was built using approximately 2.3 million stone blocks. Each block weighs between 2.5 and 15 tons on average, with some of the granite blocks deep inside the pyramid weighing up to 80 tons. The total weight of the Great Pyramid is estimated at around 5.9 million tons of stone. That is heavier than every skyscraper in Manhattan. Combined, the base of the Great Pyramid covers an area of 53,000 square meters, and the four sides are aligned to the four cardinal directions, north, south, east, west, with an accuracy of less than 0.067 degrees of error. This is astronomical level precision, and it was achieved without GPS, without satellites, without computers, without modern surveying instruments. Inside, there are carefully engineered chambers and corridors, including the famous Grand Gallery, a soaring corbelled passageway 47 meters long and 8.5 meters tall, and the King's Chamber, built entirely from massive red granite blocks. These stones came from Aswan, over 800 kilometers to the south of Giza, and each one weighs between 25 and 80 tons. Regardless of the scorching Egyptian sun outside, where temperatures regularly hit 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, the interior of the Great Pyramid maintains a constant temperature of approximately 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, year-round. Pyramid is also one of the most precisely positioned structures on Earth. It sits almost exactly on the geographic center of all the Earth's landmass, meaning if you draw lines connecting the continents, the lines very nearly pass through Giza. And then there is the night sky connection. The three pyramids of Giza, the Great Pyramid of Khufu, the Pyramid of Khafre, and the Pyramid of Menkaure, are positioned on the ground in almost perfect alignment with the three stars of Orion's belt in the constellation Orion. This is called the Orion correlation theory, and while debated, the visual resemblance between the pyramid layout and the star positions is genuinely uncanny. The Great Pyramid of Giza has survived earthquakes that toppled cities. It has outlasted every empire that ever rose and fell in recorded history. It has been studied by Napoleon, marveled at by Alexander the Great, measured by Isaac Newton, and scanned by NASA-grade technology. It is, without question, the most shocking, jaw-dropping, world-stopping achievement in the entire history of human civilization. That is why the Great Pyramid of Giza stands alone, undisputed, undefeated, unmovable, at number 1 on this list, and that is Egypt. 5 places, 5 shocks to the world. The wind blowing across the jagged spine of the northern mountains doesn't sound like a mere current of air. It sounds like an ancient, rhythmic respiration of the breathing of a slumbering reptile. To stand atop these watchtowers at dawn is to witness a profound suspension of engineering reality. Below you, the mist pools and vertical ravines, completely hiding the valley floor, and riding the waves of that rocky sea, rising and falling, with sickeningly ribbon of stone and brick. This is the Great Wall of China, but to describe it merely as a wall is to describe the sea merely as a water. Look closely at the spine of these mountains. It doesn't just sit on the earth, it carves through it. For centuries, Western maps called it a wonder. The locals called it Wanli Changcheng, the long wall of 10,000 li. But to understand it, you have to look past the postcard images. You have to look at the blood dried into the mortar and the impossible engineering that kept it standing while entire empires crumbled into dust. When most people think of the Great Wall of China, they picture this: pristine, uniform gray brick, majestic watchtowers, and wide walkways where tourists snap selfies. This is the Ming Dynasty section near Beijing. But this is actually just the final chapter of a story that spans over 2 millennia. Before there was a unified China, there was chaos. 7 warring kingdoms hacked away at each other for supremacy. To protect their borders, each state built its own disconnected walls. They weren't using stone yet. They used what was right beneath their feet: dirt. In 221 BCE, a man named Qin Shi Huang conquered them all, becoming the first emperor of China. He looked at these fractured walls and saw a fatal flaw: isolation. He issued a decree that sounded mad at the time: connect them, build a single unbroken defensive barrier to shield civilization from the brutal nomadic horsemen of the north, the Xiongnu. This wasn't an architectural triumph initially, it was a human tragedy. It's estimated that over 1 million people died constructing Qin's wall. It became known as the longest cemetery on Earth. When the fierce Mongolian winds assault this wall, it doesn't break. It flexes, it absorbs the kinetic energy of the desert. During the subsequent Han Dynasty, the wall was extended deep into the western deserts to protect the lucrative trade routes of the Silk Road. But this created a terrifying logistical puzzle. How do you keep tens of thousands of garrison soldiers hydrated and fed in a wasteland where water kills? The builders didn't just build upward, they dug downward. They mapped out the water tables of the desert, placing watchtowers at precise intervals where underground water could be tapped. If a well ran dry, the tower was abandoned. The wall's path wasn't a straight line. It was a calculated dance across oasis coordinates. To build a wall that could withstand cannon fire and seismic activity, Ming engineers invented something that sounds like a culinary experiment gone wild. They mixed slaked lime, a standard mortar component, with boiled sticky rice soup. This created a specialized organic-inorganic hybrid mortar. The amylopectin in the sticky rice inhibited the growth of calcium carbonate crystals, resulting in a compact microstructure. This made the mortar incredibly dense, waterproof, and chemically resistant. It was so potent that today, modern weeds cannot grow between these bricks, and in earthquakes, the joints flex rather than snap. If you've ever walked the wall, you'll notice the steps are intentionally uneven. This wasn't bad craftsmanship. It was psychological and tactical warfare. Local builders knew every stone, but an invading soldier carrying heavy armor and weapons would trip constantly trying to storm up these irregular stairs in the dark. People often see the wall as a passive barrier, like a fence. It was an active weapon system, and its core node was the hollow watchtower, perfected by the legendary Ming general Qi Jiguang. These towers were self-sustaining fortresses. If invaders breached the lower wall, the soldiers would retreat inside the tower, seal the heavy iron-reinforced oak doors, and defend it internally. The narrow staircases inside were designed with sharp turns, meaning a single defender at the top could hold off dozens of attackers below. But a fortress is only useful if it can call for help. Long before fiber optic cables, the Ming Dynasty built an optical internet along the ridges of China. They used a complex binary signaling system across thousands of towers. The code was highly sophisticated. One puff of smoke or one fire signal meant an enemy force of roughly 100 men was approaching. 2 columns of smoke meant 500. 3 columns meant over 1,000. Combined with acoustic signals like bronze gongs and early explosive firecrackers, military intelligence could travel over 500 miles in just a few hours. The Central Command in Beijing knew about an invasion before the enemy even reached the base of the mountain. For all its military genius, the wall had one silent, deadly enemy that didn't carry swords: water. If you build a solid wall across thousands of miles of mountainous terrain, you effectively create a giant dam. When the monsoon season hits, the hydrostatic pressure would rip these walls apart from the inside out. The builders designed thousands of hidden culverts, drains, and overhanging stone spouts to divert rainwater away from the foundation. The wall didn't block nature, it managed it. It was a masterpiece of hydraulic engineering designed to channel flash floods away from the structural masonry. Next time you look at the Great Wall, don't just see a barrier. See a monument to human ingenuity etched into the crust of our world. The Great Wall of China remains one of the greatest monuments to human ambition ever conceived. It is an enduring testament to what can happen when a civilization combines deep philosophical patience, rigorous structural engineering, and an absolute refusal to let the natural obstacles of the world dictate the boundaries of their destiny. England. Today on International Hike, we're going deeper than the tourist trail. We're pulling back the curtain on 5 of England's most famous buildings and the insane truths hidden inside their walls. This is not the England they teach in school. Let's go. Number 5, the Millennium Dome. We start with the building that nearly broke a nation's pride. In 1994, the British government had a dream. They wanted to celebrate the year 2000 in a way that would make the entire world stop and stare. They wanted something monumental. A structure so bold, so futuristic, so unmistakably British that it would become a symbol of the new millennium itself. What they built was complicated. Designed by architect Richard Rogers, the Millennium Dome is, purely on a structural level, extraordinary. It sits on the Greenwich Peninsula in southeast London. The dome stretches 365 meters in diameter, 1 meter for every day of the year. It covers an area of 80,000 square meters, supported by 12 steel masts, each one 100 meters tall. At the time of its completion in 1999, it was the largest dome structure in the world, and it cost £750 million of public money to build. The dome opened on January 1st, 2000 as the Millennium Experience. Inside were 14 themed zones, a performance arena, restaurants, exhibitions, and the British public did not come. The government had projected 12 million visitors. They got just over 6 million. The dome became the single most mocked building in modern British history. It closed on 31st December 2000 after exactly 1 year. For years, it was perhaps the most famous failure in British architectural history. And then something remarkable happened. In 2005, a consortium led by AEG purchased the dome and began transforming it. By 2007, it had reopened as the O2 Arena, a state-of-the-art venue holding 20,000 people. Within 2 years, the O2 had become the most visited music venue on the planet. It has hosted the Rolling Stones, Prince Michael Jackson's planned final comeback residency, and the 2012 Olympics gymnastics events. From embarrassment to icon, that is the Millennium Dome. Number 4, the London Eye stand on the south bank of the Thames on any given day and watch the tourists. The London Eye has become, in barely 2 decades, as synonymous with London as any building in the city. But here's the first truth most people don't know. The London Eye was never supposed to be permanent. It was conceived in 1993 by architects David Marks and Julia Barfield, a married couple who entered a competition to design a landmark for London's Millennium celebrations. The competition produced no winner. Most architects walked away. Marks and Barfield didn't. They continued developing their design without a commission, without funding, on a kind of wild creative faith that the idea was too good to abandon. The Eye stands 135 meters tall, making it, when it opened in 2000, the tallest Ferris wheel in the world. Each of its 32 capsules, one for each of London's boroughs, holds up to 25 people and moves continuously without stopping. The London Eye is not technically in London. It sits on the South Bank, in the London borough of Lambeth, separated from the city of Westminster by the Thames. Planning permission was initially granted only on a temporary basis. 5 years, then another 5. What was built as a temporary Millennium curiosity is now the most popular paid tourist attraction in the United Kingdom, drawing roughly 3.5 million visitors per year. The couple who refused to quit built something that permanently changed the silhouette of one of the world's great cities. Number 3. Big Ben. There is arguably no sound more associated with Britain than the deep resonant toll of Big Ben at the top of every hour. It rolls across Westminster and it sounds like authority, like history, like permanence. Except Big Ben doesn't exist, not the way you think it does. Here is the truth that surprises almost every visitor. Big Ben is not the clock. It is not the tower. Big Ben is the name of the bell. The tower, the Gothic Revival masterpiece rising 96 meters above the north end of the Palace of Westminster, is called the Elizabeth Tower. It was renamed in 2012 in honor of Queen Elizabeth II's Diamond Jubilee. The clock has 4 faces, each 7 meters in diameter, with minute hands that are 4.2 meters long. The numerals are 60 centimeters tall. At night, the faces are backlit, so members of Parliament inside could check the time without going outside. Big Ben, the Great Bell, weighs 13.7 tons. It was cast in 1858, and it was actually the second Great Bell. The first cracked during testing and was recast. The second bell also cracked in 1859, less than 2 months after it began service. Rather than replace it, engineers rotated the bell so the hammer struck a different spot, filed down the crack, and reduced the hammer's weight. The chime changed slightly, and if you listen very carefully, there is a faint imperfection in the tone that has been there since 1859. That crack has been ringing over London for over 160 years. In 2017, Big Ben fell largely silent for 4 years. An £80 million restoration, the most extensive in its history. Number 2, London Bridge. Let's get this straight from the beginning, because this is perhaps the most widespread case of mistaken identity in all of tourism. That, the majestic Victorian drawbridge with the twin Gothic-Torian drawbridge with the twin Gothic towers, the one on every postcard, that is Tower Bridge. This, the flat, relatively unremarkable concrete road bridge just upstream, that is London Bridge. They are not the same. They have never been the same. And yet every year, thousands of tourists photograph Tower Bridge and tell people they've seen London Bridge. The most famous version, the medieval London Bridge, was completed in 1209 and stood for over 600 years. It was not merely a bridge. It was a street, houses, shops, a chapel, a palace, mills. At its peak, up to 200 buildings lined both sides of the roadway, some rising 7 stories above the Thames. And at the southern gatehouse for nearly 400 years, the heads of executed traitors were displayed on spikes, preserved in tar, mounted on poles. Sir Thomas More's head was displayed there. So was William Wallace's. The medieval bridge was demolished in the 1820s and replaced. That Victorian stone replacement stood until the 1960s, when engineers discovered it was sinking into the Thames at roughly 1 inch every 8 years. In 1968, the City of London Corporation decided to sell the old bridge. An American entrepreneur named Robert P. McCulloch bought it for $2.46 million. The bridge was disassembled stone by stone, shipped across the Atlantic, and rebuilt in Lake Havasu City, Arizona, where it stands today, spanning a man-made channel in the middle of the desert. There is a persistent legend, delightful, unverifiable, that McCulloch thought he was buying Tower Bridge, that he paid millions for the wrong bridge. McCulloch always denied it. He knew exactly what he was buying, he insisted, but he was an oil man from Oklahoma, buying a bridge for a tourist development in the Arizona desert. Draw your own conclusions. The new London Bridge carries 100,000 people across the Thames every day. Nobody photographs it. Number 1, Lincoln Cathedral. This is the one. This is the building that history quietly set down and hoped you wouldn't look at too carefully. Because if you did look, if you really examined the records, you would find something that should be taught in every school, displayed on every travel poster, and spoken of with the same reverence reserved for the pyramids and the Colosseum. For 238 years, Lincoln Cathedral was the tallest building on Earth. Not the tallest in England, not the tallest in Europe, the tallest structure human civilization had produced anywhere on the planet. It surpassed the Great Pyramid of Giza, the pyramid that had held that record for nearly 4,000 years. Finally overtaken not by a pharaoh's monument or a Roman emperor's ambition, but by a cathedral in a small city in the English Midlands. Lincoln Cathedral was begun in 1072, following the Norman conquest. The famous Angel Choir, completed in 1280 and considered one of the finest examples of early English Gothic architecture in existence, was built to house the shrine of St. Hugh of Lincoln. There are 28 of them, stone angels carved into the triforium, each one slightly different, watching, patient, impassive. They have been there for over 700 years. The central spire, completed around 1311, rose 160 meters above the ground, surpassing the Great Pyramid's height of approximately 146 meters. For the people of medieval England, it must have seemed almost supernatural. And then, in 1549, a storm. The central spire collapsed and was never rebuilt. Lincoln quietly stepped down from the record it had held for 2.5 centuries, and the world moved on. Lincoln Cathedral also housed until 1296 one of only 4 surviving original copies of Magna Carta, arguably the most important legal document in human history, the foundation of constitutional governance. One of those 4 copies is still in Lincoln today. And then there is something even stranger. High up in the carved stonework of the Angel Choir, tucked into a small, easy-to-miss carved panel, sits a small crouching figure, pointed ears, mischievous expression. It is called the Lincoln Imp. The legend says the devil sent 2 imps to cause chaos inside the cathedral. An angel appeared, turned the second imp to stone, and there it sits, frozen mid-mischief, staring down at the nave for the last 700 years. The imp is now the symbol of the entire city of Lincoln. It appears on the football club's badge, adorns jewelry and keychains in every shop window. The tallest building on Earth that history forgot to celebrate. England doesn't shout about itself. It keeps its secrets in plain sight. Somewhere on this planet, there are countries where you could stand at the highest point of the entire nation and still be shorter than the roof of your own house. No mountains rise to greet the clouds. No hills roll toward the horizon. Just flat, fragile land, stretched thin between the sky and the sea. Today we're crossing 5 of the flattest nations on Earth, places built on coral, carved by ancient rivers, and flattened by millions of years of geological silence. This is a story about survival at zero elevation. As we begin, please take 2 seconds to subscribe to International Hike. The 5 flattest countries on Earth. Number 1, the Maldives. Our journey begins in the Indian Ocean, above 1,192 coral islands, scattered like scattered pearls across turquoise water. This is the Maldives, the flattest country on the surface of the Earth. Its highest natural point rises just 2.4 meters above sea level. To put that in perspective, The average adult could stand on their own shoulders and still be taller than the tallest hill in this entire nation. The Maldives isn't flat by accident. It's flat by construction. Thousands of years ago, coral polyps began building reefs around the rims of sunken volcanic peaks beneath the ocean. As the volcanoes slowly subsided beneath the waves, the coral kept growing upward, layer by layer, forming atolls, rings of reef encircling lagoons where the mountains used to be. What we see today isn't bedrock at all. It's a living skeleton of coral, sand, and centuries of marine life, holding an entire nation just above the waterline. The Maldives has no rivers, no mountains, and no natural fresh groundwater sources. Nearly all drinking water comes from rainfall or desalination. For nearly 400,000 people, this fragile geology is both a paradise and a countdown clock. Rising sea levels threaten to submerge the country within this century. And in a now famous act of defiance, Maldivian officials once held a cabinet meeting underwater to draw the world's attention to their nation's future. Adventure here means diving through coral canyons that took millennia to form, canyons that could disappear in a matter of decades. Number 2, the Tuvalu. Next, we cross thousands of kilometers of open Pacific to reach Tuvalu, a nation so narrow that in some places, you can stand in the middle of the island and see the ocean crashing on both sides at once. With a landmass of only 26 square kilometers, Tuvalu is the 4th smallest country on Earth and one of the flattest, with barely 15 feet separating its highest point from the sea. Tuvalu, like the Maldives, is built almost entirely from coral reef and atoll, a geological structure shaped over thousands of years as coral organisms cemented themselves to submerge volcanic remnants. There is no interior highland to retreat to during a storm. There is no elevation to escape the tide. Life here has always meant living in direct, daily conversation with the ocean. 2 of Tuvalu's 9 islands have already lost significant landmass to erosion, and the government has begun creating a digital backup of the nation in the metaverse in case the physical land disappears. In the traditional maniapa, a large open meeting house raised only slightly above the coral floor, the Tuvaluan community still gathers for decisions, celebrations, and storytelling, much as they have for generations. It's a powerful reminder that culture doesn't need elevation to stand tall. Number 3, the Marshall Islands. North of the equator, in the vast blue expanse of Micronesia, lies the Marshall Islands, a nation of 29 coral atolls and 5 solitary islands, spread across more than 750,000 square miles of open ocean, yet totaling barely 70 square miles of actual land. Like its Pacific neighbors, the Marshall Islands owes its flatness to coral growth atop ancient, submerged volcanic peaks. But this nation carries a heavier history. Between 1946 and 1958, the United States conducted 67 nuclear tests here, including the infamous Castle Bravo detonation, one of the most powerful ever recorded. The effects on the land and its people are still being studied and felt today. The Marshallese people are master navigators. For centuries, they read ocean swells, star patterns, and cloud reflections off lagoons to sail between atolls without instruments. Modern adventurers come here to dive shipwrecks resting in Bikini Atoll's lagoon. Ghostly aircraft carriers and battleships sunk during post-war tests, now transformed into artificial reefs. It's one of the most surreal dive sites on Earth. History, tragedy, and marine life fused together just meters below a coastline that barely rises above the tide. Number 4, the Kiribati. Kiribati is unlike anywhere else on the planet, not just because it's flat, but because of its sheer, almost impossible geography. Made up of 32 atolls and 1 raised coral island, spread across all 4 hemispheres, Kiribati is the only country on Earth that exists in the northern, southern, eastern, and western hemispheres simultaneously. Most of the population lives on Tarawa, a narrow crescent of coral where, in places, the island is only a few hundred meters wide, narrow enough for a single large wave to threaten homes from both the lagoon side and the ocean side at once. In 2014, Kiribati's government made global headlines by purchasing land in Fiji as a potential refuge for its citizens, in case the nation becomes uninhabitable. Kiribati was the first country on Earth to see the sunrise each day, after moving the international dateline eastward in 1995, specifically to keep the entire nation on the same calendar day. And yet life on Kiribati remains vibrant. Outrigger canoes glide across lagoons at dawn. Communities share fresh-caught fish under thatched shelters, and children play on sand that could, within their lifetimes, look completely different. It's a place defined by resilience as much as by geography. Lastly, number 5, Qatar. Our final stop trades ocean for desert. Qatar is proof that you don't need coral to be flat. You just need millions of years of geological stillness. This small Arabian Peninsula nation sits atop one of the most stable, tectonically inactive shelves on the planet. While the Maldives and its Pacific cousins were built upward by living coral, Qatar was flattened by the opposite process. An ancient seabed slowly exposed and eroded, with almost no tectonic uplift to fold the land into mountains. The result is a rocky, sand-covered plateau, where the highest point, a modest hill called Qurain Abu al-Bal, rises just 103 meters, and the lowest point, a salt flat called Dukan Sabka, dips 7 meters below sea level. Despite being one of the driest countries on Earth, Qatar has one of the highest per capita water consumption rates in the world, relying almost entirely on desalinated seawater. From the flat desert floor, Doha's skyline rises like a mirage. Glass towers erupting from land that stayed level for millions of years. It's the perfect final contrast for our journey. A country that turned its flatness into one of the most futuristic skylines on Earth. 5 countries. 5 different stories of survival without elevation. From coral atolls holding on above a rising tide, to a desert kingdom that turned its flatness into a skyline of glass and steel. These places prove that the most extreme geography on Earth isn't always about height. Sometimes it's about how close you live to the edge and how far you're willing to go to hold your ground. Tell us in the comments section which country inspired you about its flatness. And if this journey opened your eyes to a part of the world you'd never considered, hit the subscribe button and join International Hike as we keep exploring the planet's most extraordinary places, one incredible country at a time.